Hey guys, it's Michelle, and today is Monday, September 11th, 2017, and this is episode 41, I think. We'll go with that, 41. So, it's been a little while since I did kind of a sit-down video, so I thought I would do that tonight. I actually have a little bit that I filmed kind of vlog style after I got back from my trip to Baltimore. So I may go ahead and include that, and then some of what I show you here may be a little bit of a repeat, but whatever. So since it has been a little while since I filmed kind of a full-on video, I thought I would just go through a couple of things. So if this is your first time watching, thank you so much for giving me a shot, and hopefully you will see something you like and subscribe and stick around for a little while. If you are returning, thank you so much for subscribing and being a returning person to my channel. I can't tell you how much I appreciate that. So you can find, obviously, my channel is Cozyegg on YouTube. You can also find, I put all of my show notes and everything up on my blog. So if I have any links to anything, if you there are things happening on the table. Tut is sitting on the top of the table and Ramses is sitting on the lower shelf, and Tut's tail was hanging down, so Ramses was trying to attack it. Sidebar. Okay, we're back. So what was I even talking about? Oh yeah, so if I mention stuff, link to stuff, all of that will be in the show notes on my blog. Also, I try very hard to put all of my project information in there too, so if I happen to not mention who it's by or what count I'm stitching it on or what threads I'm using or anything like that, all of that should be on my blog. I am a little behind on posting the show notes for the last two videos. Eric was actually migrating my blog over this past week, weekend, etc. So I kind of held off on, granted I was behind anyway, but I kind of held off on posting those because he was doing that. So, but episode 38, I just posted last night, so the show notes for that is up. And then 39 and 40 should be up soon. And this one. Anyway, so my blog can be found at cozyegg.cozyeggdesigns.com. You can also just go to cozyegdesigns.com, and from there you can get to any of my blogs. So Cozy Egg is where I have all of my crafting, stitching, quilting, knitting, etc. stuff. Cozy Style is kind of lifestyle, travel, fashion, design, photography, you name it. All of that's over on Cozy Style, books, all that good stuff. And then Cozy Life is where I have all of my essential oil stuff, chemical-free living, all of those good things are over there on Cozy Life. So you can get to any of those from cozyegdesigns.com. All right, all of that out of the way, let's dive in, because I have a crap ton of stuff to show you. Like, I have this whole huge pile of stuff here that you can't see. But it's like taking over. So, because I have lots to show you. All right, so let's start first with finishes. I actually want to share with you some pieces that I have recently framed. Some of them more recent than others, but I have not shown them to you, and I've been meaning to. So I wanted to do those. And one of the pieces that I did actually frame, if you follow me on Instagram, Cozyegg, if you follow me on Instagram, you may have seen I did my first kind of Instagram story last weekend, and I showed a little video of my And They Sin framed and hanging on the wall. It was a little blurry, but regardless, I was so excited. I'm going to try to, I don't want to take it off the wall because, yeah. But I'm going to try to film a little quick video of that with maybe some good light so that you can see it. So And They Sinned is framed, it is on the wall, and it is in a frame that Eric made for me. I laced it, pinned it myself, and it's on the wall. So, and from where I sit, when I stitch, I get to see it every night. So that makes me super happy, and I'm so happy to finally have that sucker framed. So I will try to insert some video maybe at the end of this so that you can see that. So what else do I have framed that I wanted to share with you? This is my Jenny Bean Halloween that I stitched a while back. I mean, I stitched this, basically I started this when it first came out, and I bought the limited edition thread pack that went with it, and so you've heard me talk about, because I still have some of those threads left over, and so anytime you hear me with a Gentle Arts thread that has an interesting name to it, like zombie flesh or witch's wart or sarcophagus or dried blood, those were all from the thread pack for Jenny Bean. So I bought those, and that's what I stitched this with. I did it on 40 count, but I don't remember the exact fabric that I used. My guess is it was probably vintage light exemplar or vintage exemplar, because that's pretty much, you know, what you get. So anyway, this is, if you've never seen this before, this is by Shakespeare's Peddler, who sadly is no longer designing and no longer reproducing. She had some beautiful, beautiful pieces that antique samplers that she reproduced as well. And she was also half of the design team for Raise the Roof Designs, which some of you may be familiar with. So this piece is Jenny Bean's Halloween, and this was an original piece that she designed. And I love everything about this piece. I loved stitching it. I love all the colors in it. I love the way that it's designed. I mean, just the whole thing. I love everything about this piece. And so I found this perfect frame for it. Obviously it's a square piece. I was able to find a square frame for it, which worked out perfectly. And I think it looks really good. My friend Sylvia actually had hers framed by Jill Rensel and put it in a white frame, and it looks spectacular in a white frame, because then it picks up the background in this cartouche, it picks up all of the tombstones, etc. So let me see if I can get that a little closer. I'm getting reflection, but that way you can see it a little closer. And I love the border on this. I love the little house with the little moon over the door. And of course, you know, I blogged about this piece as I was stitching it. So if you're curious and want to see kind of close-ups of it in progress, feel free to go check it out on the blog, and you can search for Jenny Bean, and that should pull up any of the pieces there. And so there's a little rat right there, fish skeleton. I just absolutely love this. So it's one of my favorite pieces I've ever stitched. And I know that several people are stitching this right now. I know Jay from Mortuary Stitches is stitching it, and I know some other people that I think have started it as well. So you're in good company, and it's a fun stitch. So, and did I tell you 40 count? So 1 thread over 2. So that's Jenny Bean. This is a piece that I actually had framed a long time ago, but it was not centered when I framed it, so it was a little wompy jawed. So I took it apart and redid it. It is not perfect, but it's better. When I saw Abby show her finish, and then I think she framed hers, it inspired me to get mine out and fix it. So this is, and I did frame this without glass, this is Blackbird Designs, their song. This was a loose feathers piece from a million years ago. And this was another one that I really enjoyed stitching on. It was just a fun little stitch. And this is stitched on the called for 30 count R&R whatever linen. This piece is from during the time, I think I mentioned it in a previous video, maybe one of my Whip Parade videos, that this was from the time that I was on automatics for all of the loose feathers, and I would get them with the fabric and all the threads and the chart, which was nice because then it would show up and I could immediately open it up and stitch on it and start stitching it. So somehow or another I ran out of thread on this, and if I'm not mistaken, I ran out of thread, like this charcoal thread that these birds were. And I remember I went to my L&S, and I was like, we were going out of town, we were going to Philadelphia for a wedding, and I was adamant that I was going to finish this before we left for our trip. Just, you know, self-imposed deadline. I just wanted to have it, you know, finished and done before we left. I went to my L&S to see if I could pick up another skein of this thread. They didn't have it. So one of the ladies that worked there actually went into her own personal stash and pulled out what she had of that, you know, whatever thread it was. I think it was charcoal, but anyway, pulled that out, handed it to me and said, here you go. And so I was able to take it home. Sorry, now I have a cat to deal with. I was able to take it home, finish up that last bird. Like I literally had like 3/4 of a bird left, and that was it. So I was able to take it home, do that, and then when I got back from my trip, I, you know, went up and I took the rest of her thread to her, and then I had also ordered myself, you know, some because they weren't going to get any anytime soon, and I replaced her thread as well. But that just goes to show you that, you know, stitchers, they get it, they're willing to help you out in a jam, and you know, that's kind of above and beyond customer service, right? So but anyway, so I enjoyed stitching this piece. I love this piece, and I'm happy that it is now basically straight. in the frame because it wasn't previously. And then the third piece, this is the one I just recently framed. This is Margaret Pence, and I've got a little bit of a wobble here that I need to fix, but please don't eat that. Nobody wants you to eat that. Seriously? And I was actually going to look up for you who this is by, and then I got distracted by, you know, I want to say it's Good Housewife, but maybe not. Margaret Pence, sampler. Good Housewife. So out of print. But this is obviously, it's an Adam and Eve. And it's just a sweet little piece. I think at the time that I stitched this, it was kind of making the rounds. Like, you know, one person started stitching it. It may have been Margaret from Days of a Sampler Lover. She may have stitched it. And then some other people, you know, scrambled and pulled theirs and they started stitching it. And I think Vonna stitched it and then I stitched it. So this was kind of making the rounds in blog land. So we all stitched it. But, you know, it's a fun little piece. The white on it shows up a little better in person than what you're seeing here, but it is pretty pale. But I kind of liked that look from the original. So, but I just thought it was a really kind of unusual piece. And because it's an Adam and Eve, you know that I had to stitch it. And I want you to see that snake. He is like the hugest, fattest, black spotted snake that there ever was. Like, usually you see these thin little snakes. This guy is like monstrous. He's like some kind of Amazonian something. I don't know. He's huge. So anyway, but it was just a fun little piece to stitch. So, and it's, you know, I mean, it's not very big, as you can see, but I'm happy I finally got it framed. It has been sitting in the 2-frame pile for way too long, and this was, you know, just a frame that I picked up at like Hobby Lobby or something. And what you can't see very well is that the frame, yeah, there you can. The frame actually has these kind of reddish brown accents on it, which I thought worked with their little outfits there. So, yeah. I've got a little jig jog there in my border I need to straighten up. So, that's it for my framing. But that's Margaret Pence from The Good Housewife, which is fun. So let me get back to my little note here that tells me what I'm supposed to be talking about. Okay, so we talked about framed pieces. I talked to you about Amazon. And so other finishes, I did actually finish Cuisine d'été, which is one of my Year of Whips pieces. So this is like my second Year of Whips finish for the year. And this piece is also on my magic list for Tudor Rose. And so magic stands for my annual good intentions contract. So at the beginning of the year, you write down on a little sheet of paper the things that you want to finish, the thing or things that you want to finish that year. And then on our January meeting or whatever, everybody, you know, gets to look at how they did with their intentions for the year. And typically I fail miserably. So, so far this year, I've put 4 things on my list. All 4 of those things are also on my year of whips, but I put 4 things on my list and 2 of them are done. So the other 2 things that are on my list are my Bay sampler by the Work Basket and Mystery 9. I'd really like to get Mystery 9 done because I think it's been on my magic list for like the last 6 years, but regardless. All right, Cuisine d'été. So here it is in all of its glory. And I'm so thrilled with how it turned out. Really so thrilled. So I stitched this on 32 count silk weaver lemon zest, and this is vintage silk weaver, so it's been around a while. And I stitched it with DMC. So this is, it's a pattern by Echevette. And the way that she charted it, and actually I think the model that I saw when I fell in love with this was on natural linen or raw linen. And she actually calls for, it's like DMC 367 is the green, 498 is the red, and then she calls for ecru. Because I was doing this on the lemon zest, I went with B5200 because I needed it to show up better, and it was just kind of fading into the background with the ecru. So, but I'm super happy with how it came out. And I'm happy with everything that I got accomplished. I mean, during Stitch Mania, I basically got like this middle section done. And then, and I think I started on this. And so then all this right here, this green, and then all this stuff in the middle, that was basically done, you know, in about 3 or 4 days. So I'm thrilled with it. Absolutely thrilled with it. And my plan has always been to put this in our kitchen because we've got some yellow and some red in the kitchen, mostly red. And I have this Casey Buonajario, I'm butchering that, lemon meringue pie sampler that's in there, that's basically yellows and whites and greens, because lemon meringue pie is my favorite thing in the world, because my grandmother used to make it for me for my birthday. Anyway, so I wanted this to kind of match my lemon meringue sampler, which is why I did it on the yellow fabric, and plus I just thought it would look fabulous, which it does. So yeah, so I finished that. This piece I actually started in February of 2008, I think. Pretty sure it was 2008. And now it's done. Yay! So happy to get that finished. And I was pushing to get it done. I really wanted to get it done before the end of August. I missed that by a couple of days, but I was able to get it done before the Tudor Rose meeting, which was on the 5th, so I was happy for that. So that's it for my finishes. We talked about my frame stuff. So let's talk about whips and what I've been working on. So obviously you saw in my last video, you saw my Momely bag from Emily, and you saw my start of Egypt Garden. And so that's where, this is where I left off on that, is with my little over one fish there in the center. That may be blurry, I can't tell. So I was working on the fish in the center. You can see that teeny tiny one. It's in the corner, maybe. And obviously there's some metallic in there too. Some petite treasure braid. So I worked on Egypt Garden. And then I switched over to Cuisine because I wanted to get that done before the end of the month, which didn't happen, but that's okay. So I am thrilled that I finally started this, and I'm looking forward to getting back to it at some point. But now my focus is seriously on Mystery 9. With a slight caveat, which I'll tell you about in a minute. So I've been working on Mystery 9. So when you last saw it, I had basically done all of this corner, and I did this center pool here. And so I was just starting to work on beading these swirls. So I got all of that beaded, and there is a ton of beads in there. Ton of beads. So that was no joke. You can see it's a little sparkly. There you go. So I finished beading those, and then after I finished Cuisine, then I went back over to this and I started this green hedge here. And so I've been working on getting that filled in. And then these little blocks here inside will have road stitches, or sorry, eyelets, Algerian eyelets, like it has on this side. So I will fill those in, and once I get those filled in, then I'll work on my little pond, my little pool that goes up here. And once I have that one done, then I will probably roll this down and do both of the side ponds that match this one. I'll probably do both of those here and then start to work on the bottom half. So it's coming along. I cannot tell you how cool it is to see that blue in here. Finally. I mean, this part that I'm working on, which is maybe part 10, I think it's 10. 9, I think, is the swirls. And then 10, I think, is the hedges and the pools. I'm using so many threads that this is the first time I'm using them. And so it's kind of amazing to me that as much of this as I have done, that there are still threads I haven't used yet. So, but it's just really cool to see it with that blue in there now. So anyway, so that's what I'm working on, is this corner, and I'll keep trucking away on that until I get that finished. And when I went to tutor Rose the other night, I just didn't have it in me to deal with taking Mystery 9 with me, so I took Dutch Beauty. This does not look very different than the last time you saw it, but I worked on this on Tuesday. So there's where I'm at. I'm working on this vase of lilies, and I basically, finished these 2 flowers minus their inner pieces. And then I did these leaves up at the top here, and I think that was probably about it. So let me see if I can get that closer to you, if it'll focus. It's hard to tell, but the color I'm using for these lilies is, I think it's Gentle Arts Cinder, which is a gorgeous color. And then the insides I'm using, I think, a DMC for that kind of yellowish color. And then the pinkish mauvey color is Vampire Glamour, which I think is a Gloriana. So, and I have my needle minder from Sunspot Creations that I just love. She's perfect here on my piece. So I worked on that a little bit. Like I said, this is not much different than the last time you saw it, but I did make a little bit of progress. So I thought I would bring that out and show it to you. Let me set that over here. So worked on Dutch Beauty Tuesday night, and then I went back to Mystery 9. I didn't do any stitching one night this week. I don't even know which night it was. Friday maybe? I don't know. I just couldn't get it together. I was tired or something. I don't know. And then Saturday night, I was watching a couple of videos, and I went out and looked at now I can't even think of the name of her channel, Stitching Counselor, maybe, who is Mrs. Vensel on Instagram. And so the reason that I went out and I watched her video is because there was something about her name that struck me, because she came to Tudor Rose on Tuesday, and when she got up and she, you know, said her name, it was like there was something in the back of my brain going, why is that name familiar? Why is that name familiar? And then I was watching a video, I think I was watching Jimmy Flosstube, watching a video, and then, you know, over on the right hand side it says recommended for you, and so it had her video there, and I saw her name, and I was like, oh my gosh, that's why her name's familiar. And so, because I think Emily, Eclectic Possessions, had, you know, recommended her on her last video. And so the name kind of stuck with me. So then when I saw her at Tudor Rose, I was like, hey, that name sounds familiar, but I don't know why. And then when I saw her video, I was like, that's why, because you have a Flosstube channel. And so I watched her video. Like, I immediately left a message for her, or a comment, and I was like, now I know why your name sounded familiar, because you were at Tudor Rose. But then I watched the video and I left her another comment. And so, funny enough, I know her from back in the blog days. I don't know that I ever realized that she was local to me, or that I was local to her. But later in her video, when she said, you know, I'm Ruth Rachel, I was like, wait a minute. Stop the presses. Your name really is familiar. So anyway, it was crazy. But go watch her video, because she's got some great pieces. She just finished a couple of Blackbird Designs pieces. One of them, Where My Heart Blooms, and one of them was Autumn Song. I have Where My Heart Blooms finished. I think I showed that to you in my video of the pieces that I have in the bedroom that I stitched for Eric. Autumn Song I actually have kitted up, ready to go, even have the box to put it on. Haven't started it. But Nevertheless, go watch her videos. I will link to it, but I think she's stitching counselor or something along those lines. And so she talked about in her video doing Santa Sundays with Priscilla and, you know, some other folks that have been doing that. And I believe that the hashtag on Instagram is Sampler Sunday XS for cross stitch. And she pulled out the Birds of a Feather Santas and said, hey, I'm gonna start on these. And I said, hey, I just so happen to have these in my stash. And not only do I have these in my stash, all 4 of them, not only do I have these in my stash, but I have this green one started. And he has been in deep storage for quite some time, as you may recall from my WIP videos. So yesterday, for Santa Sunday, I pulled him out and worked on him, which was super fun. So here's why he was in deep storage. On the chart, the gold of his staff and his little belt there are metallic gold. And it calls for, it just says metallic gold. It doesn't tell you what, but I'm assuming they're talking Kreinik. And then his little lantern is metallic silver. I didn't want to do these with metallic on them because I wanted them to be a little primitive looking and not blingy. So I made the decision to do that, but then I couldn't figure out what color to use. So, as is always the case, I ran into an issue or a decision point and promptly threw it in the closet. So, I got this back out last night and I finished his sleeves, even the white cuffs, and I did the black for his mittens. And then I finished off this pocket. And I had the lantern stitched, so I did go with aged pewter for the lantern. So I did stitch that. His belt, I actually did, his belt and his, and the little candle flame, I did in, excuse me, whiskey. That's what it called for the candle flame, so I just did his belt in that too. So I used whiskey for that. And then I wanted his staff to be a different color than the pretzel. He has a little pretzel in his hand. So I didn't want it to be as dark a brown as a pretzel. And I think I ended up with pecan. So I started stitching that last night, super happy with how it looked, and got quite a bit in there. And I think that the pretzel is like hazelnut or something. Anyway, it's still that darker brown. So I was able to get to a good kind of medium brown, I think, because I didn't want to do his staff in whiskey. That just seemed weird to me. But it's still lighter than the pretzel, so it'll stand out from that. So I'm super happy with him. And it was fun to get him out and work on him. Because it's been so long since I worked on him, it seems like. And I'm stitching these on 40 count weeks cocoa, which I thought was the perfect color for them. I'm not a huge fan of weeks fabric, but so here's the funny thing. This cocoa, and the reason that okay, let me back up. This is why my freaking videos last an hour and a half. It's because I have so many stories and I can't be brief. So Margaret Cottam, which was another sampler that I did, that was a mystery sampler from Lottie Da a million years ago, which I do not yet have framed, but I stitched that as it came out and had a fantastic time stitching it. It was a lot like Jenny Bean. It was just one of those samplers that I loved stitching. It called for Weeks Cocoa, and so I used it for that piece, the Weeks Cocoa 40 count. Loved it. And when a friend of mine and I were talking about doing these Santas together, we decided that Weeks Cocoa would be perfect for them because I didn't want to do them on raw linen. These actually call for Meadowlark, which is a birds of a feather fabric, which I don't think you can get anymore. But I liked the idea of putting them on cocoa. And I had just used that fabric, so I thought, perfect. Love it. What's interesting to me is that I had no problems with this fabric. Even last night, no problems with this fabric. I had no problems with it when I stitched on Margaret Cottam. I had no problems with Weeks Confederate Gray 40 count when I stitched my dad's big, huge memorial sampler on it. But then the 40 count tin roof that I have, that I think is also Weeks, is like cheesecloth, remember? You can't forget all of the bitching I did about that, which is why that project isn't getting worked on. So what the heck? I don't know. But I'm not having any problem with this, and I'm not having any problem with the Confederate Gray. I wonder if that tin roof is not actually Weeks. I wonder if it's something else. I will have to check on that. But anyway, my plan is they will all go on the same fabric. I have not cut it apart. I figured I'll just stitch them on there and then cut it apart. I don't exactly know what I'm going to do with them. It kind of depends on how big they turn out, but I'm so happy about this. So thank you, Mrs. Bensel, for that fun trip down memory lane, and also for inspiring me to take part in Sampler Sundays and get out my Santa and work on him. And I've fallen back in love with him. I'm super happy about that. And this needle minder was one of it was the freebie that I got from Sunspot Creations, and I just thought the colors on it looked kind of perfect with him. So that's all that I have been working on. So like I said, I'm probably going to go back to Mystery 9 and work on that some more, because I really need to make some good progress on it. But that's it for whips. Now I'll talk about it in a minute. That little internal debate. Stash enhancement. So I have several things that I want to share. So a very, very sweet person that watches my videos sent me a note and wanted to send me something that they had picked up for me. And so it arrived a little while ago, and I was kind of waiting so I could show it in a video. But she sent this beautiful card that is sparkly. Very, very sweet card. And she sent me Here, I'm going to read the little part of it where she talks about these. So here's what she sent me. And it was in this pretty organza bag. So she sent me this. And so she said, when I saw these little photos, I thought how great they would look in your haunted house. But I also thought what awesome needle minders they would make. So I turned them into needle minders, but feel free to use them however you choose. And then she also found this little mini frame for my dollhouse and sent it along. So I just think these are fantastic. Look at them. And she did, you know, make the 3 into needle minders, so I will probably be using at least one of them as a needle minder. So thank you, Cynthia, so much. I can't tell you how much this means to me, that you saw these and thought of my little haunted house. And I have been, you know, it's been so hot I haven't been able to get out there and work on it at all and get my staircase painted, but I've been on Pinterest like a crazy person pinning haunted dollhouse ideas. But one of the things that I've been thinking that I want to do is in the stairwell, I wanted to do some like weird, creepy, you know, photos and paintings and, you know, that whole thing. So these will be perfect in that area. So, and I am sure that I can find something equally creepy to go in this awesome frame too. So thank you so much. I love it. I love it. I can't wait to put those in. So thank you, Cynthia. So she sent that, and then my sweet friend Carissa, who I keep telling her needs to start a Flosstube channel, was making project bags. And if you've been watching her on Instagram, she's making like pairs of project bags, and so she makes one for her and then one to send to someone else, which is awesome. And so she picked this one out for me, which is perfect. So I just absolutely love it because it's got the skulls but with these pink roses, because it's like, you know, I'm equal parts Marie Antoinette and Penny Dreadful. So this is like awesome. It is so fantastic. And it's got this beautiful little kind of ticking stripe fabric up at the top. And then she made this little zipper pull, which you could also use as a scissor fob, which I just love. That's gorgeous. And then on the inside, it has this fantastic Halloween fabric with owls and skulls and rats, which is just awesome. And then on top of that, she made me 3 matching grime guards, which I've been in desperate need of. So I think this one fits in 11 by 11, and these 2 fit 8 by 8s. And so now that I've shown them to you, I can actually use them. But I was afraid that if I started using them, I would forget to show you. And then she also sent along this beautiful needle minder of this black rose that I just love. And this is more of that fabric that's got the owls and everything on it. Beware the owl that hoots at the moon with a familiar tune. I love it. So thank you, Carissa, so much. And she sent this sweet little card. I can't even begin to tell you how much I love this. So I feel exceptionally spoiled between my Emily bag and my Carissa bag. So thank you guys. And the fantastic part about the size of this is that it exactly fits an 11 by 11 Q-snap perfectly. So, and it's funny because I told her, like, the night before this arrived, I kept thinking I need, because I was stitching on Cozyegg, which I had in my 11 by 11 frame, and I kept thinking I need a project bag that will fit that Q-snap so that I don't have my bag in one hand and my Q-snap in the other, and I can put it all together. So I was like, tomorrow I'm gonna measure and I'm gonna figure out what size bag I need to make so that I can do that. And then this appeared on my doorstep. So thank you, Carissa. Very much appreciated. And one of these days she will start at Flosstube because she's awesome. And she quilts and she knits and she stitches, and she's in Canada, so she goes to traditional stitches all the time and comes home with this fantastic haul. So anyway, all right. Oh, couple other things. So I also got this fantastic birthday gift that I wanted to show you. So my friend Kim stitched this for me as a birthday gift, and I believe this is by Threadworks Primitive, and it's got little rings on the bottom to hold your thread, and then on the back this is all wool, and it's got a place to put your scissors here in the moon. So it is fantastic and finished like a tombstone. I love it. Absolutely love it. And I think she stitched it on Murky. So she gave this to me at our guild meeting on Tuesday, and I am so thrilled with it. So thank you, Kim. I love it. Love it, love it, love it. And then I have a couple things that were not gifts that I wanted to share. So I went to Joann's a few weeks ago, and I was determined to get some Halloween fabric that I can make project bags out of. And I did that. So I was mainly interested in getting this fabric, this Ouija board fabric. And I think somebody just made a project bag for Emily out of this, but it's just fantastic fabric. So I had to have that. So I got some of that, and then they also had this fabric that I really liked. That's kind of, you know, vintage Victorian Gothic-y kind of looking. poison bottles and such that I thought was super fun. So I got some of that. Now, when I think I'm going to have time to make these project bags, I don't know, but whatever, I have the fabric. And then I saw this and I had to have it. One, I loved the colors in it, and then two, I loved the design. So I had to have that too. And then Eric was with me and he picked out this one, which I thought was super cool. So I had to get that too. Because everything was on sale and I had coupons out the wazoo. So now, yeah. Okay. Couple of things. So, books. I have not been reading hardly at all. I think I mentioned this. I haven't been reading hardly at all. I did actually pick up The Gunslinger, Stephen King, to read that, to reread that. I read the books like a million years ago. And so I picked up The Gunslinger and I basically read like half of it on the way to Baltimore and half of it on the way back. Thoroughly enjoyed it. And it was so nice to actually have time at the airport on the plane to just sit and read. That was lovely. And so now I'm back working on another book that that I'm just kind of tiptoeing along on, called Sour Grapes. So I'm still reading that. So I've been trying to like hold off on reading The Drawing of the Three, which is the next book in the Dark Tower series, because I'm trying to get this other book done. But yeah. So anyway, that's where I am on books. And obviously there's lots of crazy weather stuff going on. You know, I am in Texas, but I'm up near Dallas, so I'm obviously further north than all the stuff that went on in Houston and continues to go on. Because, you know, even days after the rain stopped, people's streets and homes and neighborhoods were still flooding, and there's just so much damage. And it's awful to see. And then of course, right on the heels of it, Irma. And so there's of course, you know, that is still ongoing at this point. And I'm from Florida. I was born in Florida. I was born in Jacksonville. I have family in Florida. So yeah, you know, it's just been like, it's just been a little crazy. And I know that's putting it mildly. It's heartbreaking to see some of the stuff that's going on, you know, that people are dealing with, and it's scary too, because, you know, when they're just playing on the news this constant loop of, you know, you have to evacuate and stuff's coming and batten down the hatches and, you know, whatever. I will say though, I saw a meme somewhere, maybe on Facebook, maybe on Instagram, that said, you know, there's hurricanes and flooding and fires and a tiger on the highway. Who is playing a game of Jumanji? And I was like, no doubt. That is exactly what it feels like, because there is some crazy, crazy stuff going on. So my heart just goes out to all of the folks that are affected, or that have family and friends that are affected by any of this going on. And clearly all of the fires that have been going on the West Coast have been, you know, kind of underrepresented because of everything that was going on with Harvey and Irma. But there are folks that are really suffering there as well. So anyway, I just wanted to take a minute and just say, you know, all of my thoughts are with those that are dealing with that and the fallout of that. So, okay. The other quick thing that I wanted to talk about is I am working on a couple of things. So, you know, this year it was really important for me to work on whips and getting some of those whittled down. And I talked a little bit about Mystery 9 and what I plan to work on the rest of the year. What I've not talked about is my plans for Dark October. So those are in the works. I have my spreadsheet out. I'm planning it. There's a lot that I want to do in October. So next video, I will talk a little bit more about Dark October and what my plans are, and what I'm thinking about working on in October. So yeah, I'm excited about that. And then I'm actually starting to look at plans for 2018, because I have some very specific things that I would like to do in 2018, and kind of where I want my focus to be. So I'm kind of shoring those plans up a little bit. I want to get Dark October kind of figured out before I get too far into 2018 planning. But I got some plans, y'all. So, when I started my blog in 2006, June of 2006, I decided that every blog post that I did, at the bottom of it, I was going to put a gratitude statement. And to this day, every time that I post a blog post, with the occasional exception because I've lost my brain, but every time I post a blog post, I put down at the bottom what I'm grateful for that day. And since I have been doing Flosstube videos as opposed to doing blog posts quite so much, when I do my show notes, I still do try to put that on there, but I thought that it was probably a good time to bring that practice to my channel. So really the last thing that I wanted to share with you is a couple of things that I am grateful for, and some things that are making me happy. So over the past few months, at the end of the night, when I'm, you know, kind of done with my stitching and I'm sitting there playing on my iPad, or, you know, whatever I am doing, looking at Instagram or whatever, there are two things that I do. And so one of them is I go over and I look at Spinster Stitcher's blog, who I've mentioned before. And you know, that one of the things that I love about her is that with as much as she has on her plate and things that are difficult or hard, you know, she's had some big things happen. You know, she still manages to stay so positive and funny and open. And so, and she typically posts every day. And so that's been kind of my little ritual, is every night I go and I look at her blog and read her new blog posts, and it just brings a little smile to my face at the end of the day, which is so nice. You know, and it's nice to see what she's working on too, but mostly I just go to check on her and see how she's doing and what she's up to. And the other thing that I do is there is another blog called Thread in Hand, and that one I actually have subscribed to, so I get an email with the blog posts that she posts, and so I go in and I look at, and she tends to post every day as well, Amy. And so, you know, I go in and I look at my email that's from her latest blog post, and I'll read that. And she stitches some of the most beautiful things, and she stitches a lot of pieces that I would love to someday have the skills to be able to stitch. And that's kind of a little segue into my 2018 plans, but she just stitches some absolutely beautiful things. And so I'm so inspired by the pieces that she stitches and what she's working on. And so going and checking in on her blog every day as well brings a smile to my face, but mostly it really inspires me because she does such beautiful, beautiful things. So those are the two things that I'm grateful for today, is those two little nightly rituals that I have after I finish stitching, and after I've looked to see what Emily has stitched on today, and look at her progress from Instagram. Then I go and I look at Connie's blog and I look at Amy's blog. So, and I will put links to both of those in the show notes on my blog so that you can go and check out their blogs as well if you're interested. But I'm just super grateful for this community and for the kindness and for the ability that we have to inspire and encourage each other. It's really something, and especially with folks that, you know, are dealing with these natural disasters that we have going on. You know, now is when it's really nice to know that you have this community that you can go to and look to for support or just inspiration, or, you know, I don't want to talk about the hurricane stuff, show me something pretty. So yeah, so anyway, so that's what I'm grateful for today. And I'm grateful that I had some time that I could sit down and do a video and show you all the stuff that I had to show you. And I will try to get some video of And They Send framed and up on the wall so that you can see it. And I guess that's it for me for today. So next time, Dark October stitching planning. And don't forget, you can find me on my blog at cozyegg.cozyegdesigns.com, or you can go to cozyegdesigns.com directly and get to any of my blogs from there. If you would like to subscribe to my channel, I would love that. Leave me a comment. I apologize that I am so bad about responding to comments, but I will eventually get to them, and I do appreciate them. And Instagram, I'm Cozyegg, Ravelry, Cozyegg, etc., all the places. So, thanks everybody for joining, and I hope you have a great rest of your week. Bye.